In today's episode, we are having a really important conversation about relationships and partnership and communication. I am joined with Landon Metz and Camille Claire, who just recently founded MC Nexus. And they really help support the suppliers, manufacturers, and sales reps and agencies to help them have strong communication and sales channels to really show up for retailers and, of course, sell through to more retailers. Now, even though they come more from that other side of the retail industry and aren't retailers themselves, both of them have worked with independent retailers for decades and really understand your business. And it's such a great conversation about kind of behind the scenes of what happens with our suppliers, rep agencies, how to think about it, trade shows, markets, what's the future of that? Where are we going with that? And a lot of great advice on how to build important relationships that will hands down support your retail store. I just based off of being in this industry for over a decade and conversations I've had with retailers, I don't think we're doing enough with our reps and with the brands that we sell. I think there's untapped potential for you to really build those relationships. And we're breaking it all down with a lot of ideas and inspiration in today's conversation. So I'm so excited for you to meet Landon and Camille. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Landon, Camille, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I am thrilled you guys are here.
Oh, glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, this is going to be such a good conversation. I am really excited to learn more from you guys. Landon, I've known you for many years, and we got to party on a cruise ship together for work. We work hard, play hard. That's
right.
For sure. And Camille, we have known each other too through the industry, but you guys have a new venture and you guys are up to some really cool things. So before we dive into this conversation, will you just take a minute and share a little bit more about your retail journey? And Camille, I'll have you kick us off here.
Sure. So I've been in the industry, born and raised in the industry my whole life. Fortunately, although I started with fluffing trees and garlands at 3 years old and still am very particular about how trees and garlands are fluffed, I then in my professional career have had a great opportunity to have various roles, everything from having my own sales territory in a large multi-state and international company, and also being the COO of a Midwest sales agency and networking with, a lot of various agencies and wonderful business people across the industry. And that's how I got to meet Landon, is that we've worked together in various capacities over the years and, built a friendship from there.
Amazing. What about you, Landon?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think Camille and I have affectionately called the term show brat. That's what we pretty much are. Both of us grew up, in the industry, and her on the agency side, but me on the supplier side. So my family started a business like 30 years ago and then built themselves up, sold their business. I did the sales managing for them. And through the course of a couple of different businesses, I've grown in that respect and worked with a lot of agencies and had the privilege of being part of some great associations like GHTA, GSMA. And I'm on the second chair for Gift for Life, which supports World Central Kitchen and the AIDS Walk. And so, yeah, we've just had a great journey together, Camille and I. Sometimes it was in a partnership capacity. And then other times it was like, just being friends, just like you and I, Crystal, are just being able to see each other and go, hey, but this was a great venture for us to do together because ultimately Camille and I, having worked with so many suppliers and people in the industry that needed an opportunity to be able to grow, but didn't need to reinvent the wheel, to be able to do so. We thought we would combine forces and become sales management and sales enablement resources for people in that regard. And so, we launched and we are just having a blast doing this and helping clients.
Amazing, which is through MC Nexus. And although majority of our listeners are independent retailers, but we're going to take this angle of understanding some of the challenges from the supplier side, the rep side, how this trickles down to the independent retailer, advice for them. You guys have been working with independent retailers for decades. You understand this listener. So this will be a really rich conversation. And I'm just so happy for you guys. Congratulations on this venture. And let's dive in. You both bring such a rich mix with, like we said, supplier, agency, SaaS experience, which is software as a service for our listeners, if you don't know, from the technology side. So what are some of the most common sales challenges brands face today? And how do those challenges trickle down to affect our independent retailers?
I think, of course, the elephant in the room right now is our tariffs and how that affects everyone, from the costs and the various dynamics. Should there be surcharges? Should there be price increases? Are the products and the factories having to change? What is the shipping timeline for those products coming in? All of those elements are being navigated continually, and those can be frustrating costs, but there are additional costs as well that are just, happening in the industry as times are moving forward. There's the cost increases of shipping and technology costs and trade show costs and the transaction costs, and the manufacturers they're doing their best to juggle those costs and navigate them. But oftentimes they get to a point where they can only absorb so much, and they need to find ways to, work with those costs. And hopefully they're doing, other things to help balance out, some of those cost increases where they can, and making it not so heavy of a lift. But I know that can be something that affects, of course, the retailer, and then even down to the end consumer, as we're all seeing. And then there's some other interesting shifts that are happening in our industry, one of which that we talk about often is a generational shift. There is a generational shift as we're seeing more and more Gen Z come into the workspace and into the retailer buying space, and a shift of the baby boomer generation starting to shift out, and more of them retiring. So that's an interesting dynamic that we're seeing kind of evolve, and something that the industry, on especially the wholesale side, has to be aware of, and is something that we have to address ongoingly. And the last piece I would talk about is what we see as kind of the easiest challenge to fix is oftentimes we see a lack of clear and consistent communication, strong sales enablement tools, technology optimization, and follow through on the behalf of brands. Usually it's simply because they don't have enough bandwidth, right? A lot of them are doing as much as they can, juggling as much as they can, and they're just kind of stretched to their max, and they need more help, or it's that they don't even know what they need. And that's really why we started MC Nexus, is so that we can help, we can come in, give that advisement, and help take that lift off of some of these brands, help them grow to that next growth stage, and ease some of that frustration off of all parties, off of the brands, off of the sales reps, off of the buyers, and, make everyone's time valuable and profitable.
Yeah, amazing. And Landon, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say, there's always an ongoing question of the daily challenge of how to effectively communicate, how to make sure in an ever-changing communication age, emails. I feel like every panel that I hear, is someone saying, "Oh, emails." And so then you're thinking, okay, so texting, social media, what do we do? And right. I think that it just comes down to really getting to know, your store's preference and getting to know what they want. You have to have that understanding, but it can't be about what's the rep's favorite way to communicate. It needs to be about what's the buyer's best way to communicate, and hoping that the buyers are exerting some flexibility themselves, but still at the same time, they got a store to run. So reps need to be flexible and need to be adaptive.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so funny. I was on a webinar a couple weeks ago, and it was specifically around tariffs and what retailers are doing. And overwhelmingly, the panelists were saying, it was a panelist of retailers, and they were just like, my vendors that are communicating with me and talking to me, that's all I need. Just communicate with me on what's going on during these very uncertain, challenging times. Yeah. And it blows my mind that there are vendors out there that aren't communicating. I think people get paralyzed. They don't know the ways. They're juggling so many things. I mean, it's kind of like life 101 in
Yeah.
business and personal, right? Like solid communication means so much, especially when we're in these uncharted territories that we're going through right now. So,
Yeah.
so great that these brands have access that you can help bridge that gap. It's like really bridging the retailer with the brand. So we have great experiences to really support our retailers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the light bill. You wouldn't not pay the light bill, right? That's one of those uncompromisable things. Effective communication, both internally and externally to your client base, it's just one of those things that you don't compromise on.
Yeah, I so agree. Okay, so you guys take a modern approach to wholesale sales strategy. Can you break down what that actually looks like and how retailers benefit from a stronger rep supplier connection?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think looking at it from the standpoint that a retailer does not have all the time in the world. And so recognizing that in that finite amount of time that a rep would have with the retailer, they need to be fully enabled, sales enabled. They need to be able to be a resource. And think that that's where the mindset has to start from. Like if you start from your company being overwhelmed with your growing activity of sales and production and fulfillment, and then you're just trying to fit in how you train your reps, how you enable your reps, and then, oh yeah, we need to make sure and help the retail. That's not the right way to think about your business. You need to think about who your customer is, and then you need to work from there. A rep's got a finite amount of time, and I think sometimes suppliers don't realize this. Oh, you're going to go and you're going to talk for hours about my product alone, not the 30 other brands that you're representing, or 40 or 50 or 90 or whatever. But if you're thinking about them having that finite amount of time, then you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do to make sure that they are best enabled to have a wonderful experience? Do I have a catalog that isn't just an art gallery, but is a resource that has a scannable barcode system or gives the relevant information? Do I have promotions? Do I have information, new information for them to share? Is my order writing software up to date with the information necessary? Have I supplied that? All of these go to say, like, if you're thinking about that short amount of time, have you set your reps up for success? And to me, that comes from not just a tool standpoint, but it also comes from communication, training, adoption, and all of that relevance of your brand in their minds and pulling you out of the bag comes from you being interactive with them. And again, going back to communication. So I'd say that is the key. It's where you start your mindset and then how you enable.
So agree. Camille, would you add anything to that?
And part of all of this, one of the other things we really focus on is making sure that the rep knows the story behind the brand. So we often talk in retail about telling a story visually in merchandising, right? And making sure that there's enough product to create the visual story. But there also has to be an importance behind the story of why the brand was created. What pulled on their heartstrings to develop this product, or what's their muse of where they continue to develop the new items? What is their give back program? Where's their heart placed? All of those elements are really important that the sales people, the sales reps know and believe in, so they can express that as they're moving forward with their retailers and buyers. And ideally, so that the retailers and the floor staff can, when they're talking to an end consumer, can also get behind that excitement and say, hey, did you know that this company does XYZ, or this is why they were started, or all of those elements?
For sure. That's exactly what I'm thinking, is that the rep will be more successful when they are storytelling and they know everything about the product and they can communicate that. But then the retailer should just copy exactly what the rep is saying to their team and train them and on their social media. I mean, when we have customers in our store and we have a story about this one and absolutely nothing about this product, what are we buying? We're buying the story, the buy-in, the interest. Like, you just have to work a little bit harder to sell, especially depending on what we're selling, especially on social too. Having those stories, really taking your customers through that. So it works both ways with the rep. And if that rep can train the retailer on those stories and really help supply them. I've even seen some reps go live with retailers in the store.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I just want to encourage any of our listeners right now, I know that this isn't necessarily your job. Like ideally the rep comes to you or the brand comes to you and has these things in place. But I just feel encouraged to say, speak up. From the communication perspective, it does work both ways. And so if you aren't getting the support that you want, or ask, like, what is the story? Do you have marketing materials? Do you have anything to help me sell this? Will you collaborate on a promotion? Like, the communication's got to work both ways. So really leverage. And I see you guys saying, yes, I have a feeling you agree.
Yeah. I think that,
100%.
and then it can be feedback in many respects. Sometimes I think reps are going to have a lot of great feedback from their leadership, but not nearly as great feedback from as they would get from the store.
Right.
Absolutely. That's partnership. That's
Yep.
great.
Exactly. Love it. Partnership. We need to view it as partners, really. Okay. So what are some of the smart things that retailers can do to build better relationships with their reps, as we're talking about this, right? And their suppliers, and ultimately get access to better product support and visibility? Camille?
Yeah, so this goes right into what we were just talking about. The sign in the room is exactly communication. Reps have a lot of information at their fingertips and they do want to help. They want to be a resource, but they also need to know exactly what you need, how you want to be communicated with. And although you might have told them before, hey, I want you to communicate with me via text, and they'll do their best to keep that in mind. Also, sometimes grant some grace. They're on the road majority of the time or juggling a lot, and they might forget the specifics of what your preferences are. Go ahead and remind them, just respectfully say, hey, could you please make sure to text me that information or shoot it to me via email? We're in such this evolving communication world where all of our emails are getting bogged down, right? Some people are transitioning to wanting more communication via text. Some people are going back and saying, I want a phone call. Others want it on email so that they can have it documented. Some want to be specifically reached out on social media for various reasons. So express that and don't, hesitate to remind anyone you're working with, really. And as far as what you need with them, everyone needs different things. Some retailers do have really strong social media and others don't want anything to do with it. Some have really strong marketing in their stores and others choose to focus their energy in other ways. So feel free to ask for what you need. Ideally, of course, the rep will look around at your store and know your social media and be able to make some assumptions of what your needs will be. But it's always helpful to ask and give some helpful pushes. The more that you communicate with them, the better. And reps can really offer so much. They can offer what's up-to-date inventory, what is current shipping windows on products, what are the best sellers, not just nationally, but regionally. What are the best sellers in your area? They will know the items that are the better quality items and the items that maybe they'll say quietly, hey, I don't recommend that item. Let's look at this one instead. Or the items that can get you a better margin, has a better perceived value. Those are all the hot inside tips that you want to know from somebody that is seeing, touching, and feeling the product and working with a vast amount of people that you just can't get while doing something only online. And they'll also typically know the area. These are usually reps in your territory. And if they don't physically live in your territory, they're working the territory a lot. They'll know the store down the street. They'll know what products they have. Maybe it's a small line and they'll say, hey, let's not do this right now. Let's revisit it another time. Or maybe it's a larger line where they can guide you and say, the store down the street has these items. Let's look at these other types of items. They can also, of course, offer you specials and give you the best deals. That social media content and marketing. Another big thing is giveaways. Maybe you're doing a store promotion or a store event. Tell them about it. They'll also sometimes promote it in their area, especially if they're living in their area. They'll talk to their vendors and see what they can do about some giveaways that they can help you out. And the last thing I wanted to say is an element that often gets overlooked is be thoughtful about how reps are compensated. It can be overlooked that reps are often 100% commission based. And that commission base is also usually pay on pay. So meaning that it is based on what ships and when that invoice is paid. So it's really helpful if you just take that into consideration, pay your bills on time, appreciate that this is a true partnership that's showing up for you, and treat them the same way that you would like them to treat you and show up for you.
Really, really good advice, Camille. Landon, do you have anything to add to that?
We've talked to a few reps who've said, somebody might be like a retailer might be buying online, and then they'll have a rep in their area, and then that order that they bought online, maybe they're trying to figure out what's the status of, and maybe they assume that the rep is getting compensated on it, but because they didn't do that order through the rep, they may or may not be, and more often are not. I think it's good to be cognizant as a store using a rep resource to troubleshoot things that you didn't work with them on. They're probably doing because they are wanting you to buy through them, falling on the sword and helping, but they're probably not getting compensated for it. I think that just being cognizant, don't assume that they're getting paid. And if you have the opportunity where you have a rep who's involved with you, just remember that they are a much better resource for you than just buying online. Cognizance.
Yeah. I think this is obviously such a big conversation in the industry amongst sales reps and vendors, and I hear a lot of it. And I've talked to some retailers about it too. And actually, I was very surprised. About a year ago, I posted into our Rooted in Retail Facebook group, do you work with reps? And several retailers were like, what do you mean? What's a rep? And how do I know if I have reps? And it was eye-opening to me that, especially, newer retailers coming in, there are online resources to buy products from, like you're saying. Yep. And so they don't necessarily know that reps exist and that they have that option. So if there's anybody listening, I think it's really important for you to look at the lines you carry and see if there is a rep that's local that can support you, because everything that you guys have both said, just the quality, like you don't want to bring a dog in, like saving yourself that time and knowing the trends and what are people buying in the store, right, on the street. Like that's a lot of hassle that can be saved. And I think that sometimes we feel like, but it's more convenient to shop online, but you're not getting that insight. And to the point of like, if I have an issue, I'm then not getting that support. But there is another side of it. And I just want to call it out, because I know somebody's listening to this right now and is like, there are also bad reps. They're not helping. They're not showing up. They don't respond to calls. They're not giving the data. In my opinion, is we are getting to a place where very soon that is going to be impossible for them to still be a rep. I just don't see that being the future of reps. How can you sustain, to the point, Camille, that they're commission and paying expenses? Like you're going to either have to work for that and be a consultant and really show up and represent these lines and give that support, or they're going to shop online. And AI is helping curate a lot of things now. And so if you just are not giving that personal touch, they're not going to make it. Yeah. So it's sort of up to those reps. Like, are you in it and willing to do what it takes and show up for these retailers or not? Because I think we're crossing a bridge where a lot of them are going to fall off. So I just want to say, I know there's
I agree. I kind of want to add one thing. I think it's important for suppliers, and we encourage this with anybody we work with. If you have direct business come to you, or let's say you have business coming to you through Fair, don't just leave that. Take those leads and give those leads to the reps. Yes. And then let those reps work with them and cultivate. Your average order will go up. Your exposure, the store will benefit from having the right products in there. I mean, there's so many benefits from turning the leads around to the rep or the rep agency. And we are strong supporters of the Reps Are Local Too movement. That is a huge, huge benefit where reps, these are quality reps that are working together. And it's good for principals to know, the rep principals, the ones in charge of the reps, to know how the reps do it. And not just negative, but positive too. So I encourage those things.
But you're right. There are hobby reps out there. In Landon and my conversations, hobby reps. And I think that those are going to fall off. To be honest with you, and say it blatantly, I hope they do. I think majority of the industry hopes that they do, because there's a lot of great reps out there that just want to help.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, and similarly, hobby retailers are also facing challenges with technology, social media, live shopping, e-com. And so we see more of those drop off as well. So, speaking of buying online and going to markets, there's a lot of talk about trade shows evolving or even becoming less relevant because we do have these online options. So, I want to know what your guys' take is and what should indie retailers be thinking about when it comes to how and where they buy. Landon, you want to kick us off here?
I love the question actually, because when Amazon was coming about, I just remember people being like, it's the end of the trade shows, you know? And really the first time I heard it was when there were Hallmark shows. And then they came up with something called, I think, eBiz Mix. And people were like, oh, the shows, you know, and it's just these constant fair comes on. Oh, the shows are going away. I'm just going to say my opinion. I do not see that happening at all. I know somebody's sitting there going, yes, but attendance has been down in this or that or sometimes. I get it. But there's so many factors that play into attendance going down that could be market, could be weather, could be vacation schedule, could be anything. But the fact is, at the end of the day, people want to touch. People want to experience and feel and have that. And I think that that's wonderful. But I also can see how stores have to be thoughtful about their budget. Everybody's got to be budget conscious, but that maybe involves not just throwing out the, baby with the bathwater. You can still maybe reduce your show travel and still go.
Right.
Also, I've loved seeing how sometimes like you have a buyer that can't come. And so then you'll have some really cool reps that will walk around with their phones and be like, hey, we're here together. They're showing them. There's so many options. Also, remember that suppliers will have their show specials, not just to be at the show, but they'll offer them to you in that zone area, that time period around the shows. And if you're working with a rep, they're going to take advantage of that to help you. Whereas online, you know how it is online, cut off. With a rep, they go, let me see what I can do. Right.
Yep.
I think that the shows are a wonderful experience and I do not think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Camille, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the shows. I know Landon loves the shows. And trust me, growing up in this industry, I have seen shows evolve. I have seen them come and go. Grew up practically in the Northville, Michigan show, Mart, which was no longer. Then I grew up as I got older in the Chicago Merchandise Mart, which everyone was heartbroken as that evolved. At the same time, we've also seen a lot of great regional shows develop and, they're developing and strengthening more and more as we speak. So if you can't make it to some of those larger shows, even for a shorter period of time, or maybe you can't go twice a year. And so you really look at how do you go and get the most bang for your buck, maybe spend a little longer time once a year, things like that, or talk to your local reps and find out what are the full list of shows, where are the regional shows that are maybe easier for you to go to. I think that shows are important for a lot of reasons. You can often find a lot of new lines. As much as people say, once they order, once they have the quality, touch, and feel of products, that evolves. And things like tariffs are something that makes that evolve. So It is important to make sure that you are at least occasionally still seeing, touching, and feeling the product.
Yeah, it's so true. And it goes also back to communication. Like some of the markets will also help offset some of your costs. Maybe I've also worked with some rep agencies that do giveaways and they'll pay for your travel. As an Indera member with our association, we're partnered with Ann Moore, and they can help offset some of your costs if you're a member of ours. So ask those questions because I think it's so important. I say this all the time. I think it's really important to be in the room. There's nothing like in person. And so we're touching, we're feeling, but we're also building those relationships with our reps, the vendors, other retailers. Go to the networking events, go to some of the education. Right. Like, how can we just really be in the room and immerse ourselves? And then often when we step outside of our store, we get new perspective and we answer our questions better or differently because we aren't in the four walls every day. Like, you've got to get out. But I also feel like that's the word, Camille. Like, these markets are evolving, and what FAIR does is it puts pressure on markets to be innovative and support your retailers. That only creates a better experience. And so I like when we have the competition because it holds people accountable. And we need that. And I'm all for change. Not everybody likes change. So I like the change. I like when there's new things going on. And our friends at New York Now they're going to integrate tarot card readings at the market in a couple of weeks. I love that. They call them activations. You can't get that online. And I think there is a time and a place, some of the convenience, maybe reorders, something like that, where you can shop on Fair, things like that. This isn't about dissing Fair or any online platforms. No. It's really just about the options you have and how to really show up as a strong retailer. I think being in the room is so.
Yeah. You also get to see how things are merchandised.
Yeah.
Of course, you can see that on a little camera and you can see it how visual, but you know how it is. I mean, there's a reason why people go to open houses, right? You got to see it. I just think there's so much value.
Yeah, there really is. I love it. Okay, you guys, if you had a megaphone to every rep, brand, retailer, what would you shout from the rooftops about the future of buyer to supplier engagement? Camille, I'll start with you.
I would shout, relationships matter more than transactions. This is an emotional industry, and people don't just buy products. They buy feelings. They're buying home decor because they want a sense of calm or a sense of energy in their home. They're buying gifts to express love or joy. They're buying toys and games and elements like that to spark laughter and learning and connection. People that bring those products to life, everything from the suppliers to the reps and the retailers, they're all emotionally invested. They're all passionate about what they do and about this industry. And although, of course, these are all businesses, we're all business people, and financially speaking, we all need to make some money and be able to support ourselves and our families. No one got into this industry to make money. You know, everyone's here because they care and because they're passionate. So at the end of the day, I really believe that if we all support each other and remember that the relationships really matter, it'll all help us and all of our businesses grow and move forward.
Well said. That was beautifully said, actually, Camille. Thank you. Landon, what about you?
I think what you said about the transaction aspect is true. It really is a matter of what you're trying to cultivate. And as a store, you have been creating and cultivating an experience. It's not just a store where somebody goes and buys something, checks out and leaves. It's an experience. You have it. You've made that and you've done it so well that you're thriving, growing. That's also with relationships and suppliers, reps, buyers. Everybody's got to be thinking about what am I cultivating when I'm going and I'm buying in a certain way, or whether I'm attending or not attending, or how I'm selecting, or what kind of experience am I cultivating for the growth of my business. And I just think that if people are thoughtful on partnerships and how they're growing organically and how they communicate and have relationships and partnerships, I think everybody will rise. What's the term? The rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yep.
I think everybody will grow if we have a cultivation mindset that we're thoughtful about the relationships around us.
I have huge news. The Independent Retailers Association is live. We are so excited to announce that this online community is here to support independent retailers. We believe that it is the independent era. This is your time to shine. You have so many advantages to stand out, to grow customer experience, to get found online, to be a modern retailer that is relevant to today's consumer. And we want to help aid you in all of that, which you'll find on the Independent Retailers Association. Now, we call it INDERA, short for Independent Era. This is your era, and we're here to just amplify that with you and with all the other independent retailers who are inside of our community. So if you want to join us, membership starts as low as just $25 a month to join the community, get access to education, resources done for you, AI training, and more. Head to joinindera.com. That's join, INDERA.com to see the different membership levels and learn about what we are up to. So I would love to see you on the inside and love to help you grow your store. So head on over to joinindera.com and let's get back to the episode. Are you ready for the resilience round?
Yes.
Ooh, all right.
Okay. So best business book, and we're going to do ladies first. So Camille, you're just going to answer first on all of these. Okay?
All right. Got it.
Okay.
Best business book, The Power of Understanding People.
Ooh, good one.
It's a great book that goes through everybody's, the various personality types, knowing your own personality type and how the two can mesh together in various ways.
Awesome. Landon?
There's only one book that I read over and over and over again, and that is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I know it's an old school book, but there's just some principles in there that all the other great business books build off of, the good ones, build off of those kind of principles.
Yeah, so true. Great choices. Best retail technology, like an app or software?
Well, I don't have it yet, but it's on my list. The Remarkable. Landon has one. He rubs it in my face daily, I would like you to know. Yes, as he's doing a visual
modeling it. If anybody's
right now,
not watching the video, Landon is modeling his Remarkable, which is, it's like a tablet that you can rate, right? Like a digital tablet.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I mean, the idea is you can write on it and it can transpose, but you can save it. It's just easy to walk around with in any setting. So I think for whether you're a rep or your supplier, your management, anything, your store, just being able to have a tool like that is great. And Remarkable, if you're listening, we are happy to continue to promote you for just...
Exactly. If you would like to sponsor so that I can get one, so that I don't have to just be jealous every single day.
Every single day.
You guys should definitely send this episode to Remarkable. Let's get Camille Remarkable.
Camille Remarkable.
I love it. And actually, nobody's mentioned that on the show before, and that would be a great tool for retailers. So I love that you said it.
So
okay. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
Follow you, of course. And we're part of as many associations as we can. I like what you said, show up, be in the room, conversations, talking with people. I've also for a really long time followed WizBang. I love the conversations that happen on WizBang. I think it's important it helps me keep a grasp on those conversations between retail as well. So, many of those different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would say the water cooler, going and being around my connections and friends and talking to them and just hearing insight. I love listening to people, learning what's going on. Some of those conversations can be so organic. The social media post is great. I get insight from those too, but I really get the skinny when I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah. So true. Great resources. I couldn't agree more. If you guys, now you are a newly formed business, so, this might be challenging to answer, but if you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
Start it sooner. Honestly, not too much sooner. I think there's a reason why certain things happen when they do. So I can't say that I would start it too much sooner. It would have been nice to not have just started a business right before the tariff conversation happened.
Sure.
That was something that we were like, well, this is not the best timing for this conversation.
It's tough. It's tough. But then people need you. How do you navigate it? Right. So from a consulting. But that is tough.
So I would say she took all of mine. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, I wish I had brought the black pants to our photo shoot. And what I mean by that is it's really good in a partnership to have good communication. And when we had our photo shoot lady say that she was going to do black and white photos, I thought she meant when she was talking like black and white, I thought she meant like black and white photos. And Camille is like, I'm bringing black and white attire. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to bring khakis and a polo. And I really wish I had listened to my awesome partner that's so much more professionally inclined. That is something that I really wish.
As I'm turning beet red, for those of you that are not listening, I'm turning beet red because clearly you can tell that this was a little bit of a hot topic early on in our partnership.
I want to publicly apologize to you. I apologize. You have probably the black pants.
That is amazing. I have never heard that one on the show before.
We will never have this problem at a photo shoot again. I will tell you that.
No.
You got it out of the way early, so you're good. I love it. You guys, finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think we're going back to experiences and more relationship driven. My kids are Gen Alpha, which is that generation right after Gen Z. And I think when I talk to my friends and everyone, there's a lot more conversation going on about relationship and experience and a carefulness over technology and all of those elements. Gen Alpha is terrifying in a lot of ways. We're hearing Gen Z speak more on how they're evolving. So I just really think that although there's this conversation of AI and tech. Those can be great in various ways. I do think that a lot of people are craving and going to push hard to keep that relationship element intact and experiences.
Yeah, I so agree. Landon.
Yeah, so I would say that the future is bright for anyone who's creating an experience. And so if you're creating an experience that somebody can come into and enjoy and it just be a place, a destination that they're going to, then you're going to be aces. But if you're traveling and you're a road rep, it's carrying that experience with you. Let it be a great experience. I'll just name drop. I got someone named Lauren Robinson that was an independent rep that I worked with at Creative Brands, and she is a force of nature, of beautiful experience anytime you're around her. And she carries experience with her. And so I just think that's the key and a bright future to all those that make it more than just merchandise.
Well said, you guys. This was such a great conversation. How can people connect with you and learn more?
From social media, we are on social, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Feel free to reach out. You can directly message us, or you can go ahead and email us at hello@mcnexus.co. And Landon always likes to say that we are .co, not .com.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's no longer will we do com, we're co.
Yeah. That's so old school,
That's
right?
That's right.
I have to say we have Indera.co, and I always say Indera.co, not .com.
Yeah.
Like you have
From
to
the
do it to say it.
rooftops. Yeah.
Amazing. We will link to all of your socials and your site and email as well. You guys, thank you so much for being here and helping the industry. We need people like you guys. So thank you for being here.
Thank
you so much for having us. We
Yeah.
really appreciate everything that you do for the industry.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Awesome. Amazing. You guys, remember that I'm rooting for your success and have a great week ahead. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rooted in Retail podcast. It means the world to me to have you here. If you find value in this show and you listen on an iPhone, if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would be amazing. And if you watch YouTube, if you're a YouTube subscriber, we film this. And so if you rather watch the show, you can also do that over on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.